right. I'm excited for today. We've been hanging out with Fresh Ground for the last couple days. So we got a special guest for today's vlog. We're going to be interviewing the one and only, are you Fresh Ground?
I think I am, but there might be others.
No, there's no other Fresh Grounds. For those of you guys that didn't watch our Appalachian Trail videos or were not on the Appalachian Trail, you might not be familiar with who this man is. On the trail, he goes by Fresh Ground.
Yep.
And his real name is?
Tim Davis.
And on the trail, this guy's, at least this year, from our experience, was like a legend. So we heard the name Fresh Ground, and actually, in one of our first 3 days, I didn't know this until later, but the first guy that gave us Trail Magic said that he was out there because a guy that had helped him 3 years before did Trail Magic with him. He said that guy's name is Fresh Ground. We're like, oh, now we know who that guy is.
Yeah.
So we got to spend out the last couple days together, but I want to give you a chance to kind of talk about the behind the scenes of what it was like for you on the Appalachian Trail. And can you tell the story of how you got out there?
Okay, so the start of the Leapfrog Cafe.
Yeah.
So I need to let people, I think most people know that I'm driven by my faith. And so I kept getting woke up.
What were you doing before this?
Well, I'm a construction worker by trade, so I'm an electrician. So in my job, I was working for a family-run business. I was the only electrician, but I would get woke up in the middle of the night, pretty much every night for about a month. Might have been more than a month. I don't remember specifically.
And what year is this?
This was 2013.
Okay.
So this was probably December 2012, January 2013. I think January 2013 is when it was really happening. So I kept getting woke up, and I had these two words in my heart: feed hikers, feed hikers, feed hikers. So I struggled with it for a while, and I'd stay awake for about 30 minutes and want to take my dog for a walk. But I went to work one day at the family-run business, and was telling a lady that worked in the office what was happening, and she said, "You know how God is, just go do it." So when she said it, it clicked. So from that, I picked March 1st, and I went down Georgia, and I got with Lee and Josh Saint. I knew them from the Hiker Hostel.
So had you done stuff on the Appalachian Trail before? Why did you go to Georgia?
I did hike. I hiked in 2012.
Okay.
So in 2012 was the first attempt at a through hike. I started May 15th, and I did everything wrong that a hiker could do. You know, overloaded pack.
Had you backpacked before?
Never done extended backpacking. I've always been an outdoor person, but I'd never done any backpacking.
So how far did you make it?
Made it to Irwin with the pinched nerve. I got off like this, and I literally was like this when I got off. So, but I came back out, supported my bubble, my family that I was with.
That year? That year.
And so I came back out the next year. When I went down to Georgia, I asked Lee, where should I go? And she said, go to Woody Gap. So I stayed there for 10 days. So I had a certain amount of money. So what I did was I took this money, and I had 2 pots and a stove. If you go to the Fresh Ground Leapfrog Cafe and Google it, I've kept the whole history on there of it. You can actually backtrack and go to the very beginning, and I have a pot, 2 pots and a stove and a tarp, and that's it. So we started with that. I did a pot of soup, and I did boiled water for coffee. Had a homemade coffee maker I made, and from that, I went and set up again. I went to Lee. I said, where can I go next? She said, go to the Winding Stair Gap in Franklin. So I went there. And I set up a little bit north of there at Wire Picnic area. Stayed for 10 more days. And that was when, okay, it was over. My money was running out. I spent, quite a bit of money, fed a bunch of people. And the hikers talked me into putting a donation jar up. I didn't want to do it, but they said, no, just put it out and see what happens. And the first night, I remember I opened a jar, and it was like a jack in the box, money just popped out.
Probably mostly ones.
No, you'd be amazed. But we were early on. I remember our donations were minimal, and so whatever was in the jar was what we bought that day. So every day I'd resupply every day, but it was 10-day setups. I set up 6 times, and there was no break in between. I did go home after the 3rd setup, and I got my grill on 4th setup, and got my grill, and then I came back and we put the grill together and do barbecue chicken. This is all out of a 1996 Camry, Toyota Camry. So.
Who's the name of the Camry?
Yeah, it's Stinkbug now, but that's what started all this. So that was it was the hikers ran it for 2 more months that year, I ran it for 20 days, 2 setups. They ran it for 4 more setups, 40 days.
So when you mean they ran it, they paid for it.
They paid for it.
But you're doing all the cooking.
I did everything out of the car. But the donations from hikers, and we stayed out 2.5 months. So you need to let people know too that Leapfrog Cafe's motto is all you can eat and all you can drink, right? we never get you come in and give you a little bit of food. It's really all you literally can eat.
Sometimes it was frustrating me because you'd give people so much that I almost felt like it was wasteful. But you're like cramming food down people's throats. And I'm like, hey, there's a limited amount. You should be more sparing, but you weren't. You're like, you know.
But didn't it work though? You really needed them. People don't understand. Long distance hikers can't eat enough food to sustain their body weight. So I have to make sure you eat more than you're comfortable with so you can sustain that body weight.
And I want to paint a picture for those who have never hiked or seen pictures or video of what, you know, when you say Leapfrog Cafe, they might be thinking an actual cafe, or they might be coming after you like the ATC thinking, oh, this is a business or a restaurant.
Yeah.
But you come through out of the woods and there's a road. And the first time I ever saw you, we walked across a road and then we're on this path, you know, it's like 18 inches of dirt, and we see a paper plate on a tree with an arrow. That was all it had. And the arrow just pointed straight to all these more trees. It was just like brush. So we're like, well, but we had heard that I think fresh ground was there, and we've been hearing about fresh ground for a long time. So we crawl through the brush up this little steep hill. It's probably like maybe 30 or 40 feet. And then there's your car. Somehow you had like backed it into all these trees.
Oh yeah, that setup, yeah.
And then there was like 2 chairs and a table that you had set up. Not much. And you and your little stove. And you were cooking, what was it that night? Hot dogs. I think it was hot dogs. And there was a Kool-Aid thing. But when you're coming off the trail, hot food with Kool-Aid, like fresh fruit.
And ice.
The Kool-Aid was cold. It was so good. And a chair. I mean, that was like... So we sat and we talked there for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And we were late. We needed to be somewhere. But we couldn't leave. Which we came up with a phrase for that. When you get stuck at the Fresh Ground Cafe, we call that getting fresh grounded. That was what us and the other hikers call it.
That's a good name.
I came up with that one personally.
You did. You did.
I just want to make sure.
It's been repeated quite a bit too.
Well, that's what happened. So okay, so where were we?
So here we are. The first year we started the Leapfrog Cafe, totally run on donations through a donation jar, which is pretty unique, you know. But
people are paying for it. But I want people to understand. You're driving the car, you're doing the shopping, you're setting up, you're doing the cooking, you're doing the teardown.
Yeah, but I think people don't understand. To me, you've seen it, I get great joy out of helping others. To me, it's a calling to help people. And I mean, that's my ministry, is to help people. So when I wake up in the morning, I get excited knowing I'm getting ready to feed people. I get excited knowing that I'm going to cook and make you eat more than you want to eat. I get excited seeing your faces when you come in. I get excited seeing you get fresh grounded, you know. So for me, it is a labor of love. It's labor, it's work, but I can't put into words what it makes me feel like, you know. So, okay, keep on going. So that was your first year? First year. So that was I hiked in 2012, got injured. Came back in 2013, stayed out 2.5 months. Started the 1st of March, made it to the middle of May. Okay, went home, completely burnt out now. Because back then I didn't do any breaks in between setups. Came back the next year, changed it a little bit, did the same thing. Stayed out about 2.5 months. Came back the next year, and that was the year we finally changed it a little bit. We realized that what I was doing was starting March 1st and I was ending end of April, first week of May. It was just, the numbers were too big. More and more people are starting to start the trail earlier and earlier each year. Because in the beginning of the trail, that's where everyone is. Yeah. And you're saying the numbers were just too high. Oh yeah, for me, by myself. How many people were you feeding? And like early on, it would be from 40 to 50 a day. For 10 days? For 10 days. So that's 400 or 500 people you're feeding. Yeah, there were days we did easily over 100 hot dogs a day. And these are hikers. I mean, these are full appetites. Well, no, this is early on. Okay, this is like Woody Gap, mile 21. But it's something about being out there. Some people had been out there 2 or 3 days before they get to me. Some maybe even 4 days. But they were craving, people that don't hike don't understand that you have to kind of disconnect from society food, home food, and you have to adjust to eating trail food, and it's a big difference, and you can wean yourself off of it.
Yeah.
So when they see me, it's a chance to eat.
They feel sometimes we just want pop or something hot, just because it felt like we were home. Yeah. It just reminded us of things we had back home.
Yeah.
And being a hiker, you get everything taken away from you, stripped from you. I mean, you're doing a voluntary, but you don't have electricity or bed, and it just feels like culture shock almost. So to just have something warm handed to you, you felt like my mom at times.
I think, when I first started this, I remember that it was put in my heart to love everybody unconditionally. I felt like that was my 2 mandates, is to feed you and to love you the best I can. So I try to fulfill those things. I think that's what's been put in my heart to do. So when you come in, I think y'all are wanting somebody to love you. You're stressed, you're tired, you're maybe emotionally and physically, and maybe an extreme you've never reached before. So this is a chance for me to love on you and feed you and just give you some peace.
Well, I remember a story when we were in the 100-mile wilderness. So for Nobos, we're at the very, the finish line. And we had an arrangement with you where you're meeting us at certain places. And there was a southbound hiker who had just started. And it was this lady, and she was like kind of overweight. And she wasn't very attractive by most people's standards. And she was eating a lot. And she was kind of like camped herself in the main chair. And she was like getting first dibs at all the food. And she was kind of like sneaking in even some of your supplies and taking like the Kool-Aid powder and some other things and totally stocking up, And I remember feeling this tension. I was like, Fresh Ground's being taken advantage of. And I thought, like, in my head, I was like, oh, he's going to say something. Or, I kind of wanted you to. But then I'd heard you say that, and I watched you, and I saw the tension of the other hikers. Everyone was kind of pissed at her, except for you.
No, it's not a limit. To me, I've stuck with the motto, it's all you can eat, all you can tote out. So whatever you want, I will gladly. If you want the cooler, I'll strap it to your back. I've said that.
Yeah.
I really, literally
But this
mean
is
that.
where I really saw that. And not just a limit for cool people or people that have proven themselves.
Yeah.
But even new people or day hikers, I've seen you take care of.
They need it more sometimes, though. People that have experience, they know what's coming. New people, their needs a little more.
Well, I was shocked by that. I mean, just emotionally, just watching it. And I really liked it. And I found myself almost representing you because I was like, hey, I've talked to him, I know why, but people were getting angry at this girl. And I was like, I was like, in my heart, I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So how, you've been doing this for 4 years now or 3?
Well, we did it 2013, 14, 15. And I hiked in 16 and 17 and then came back this year. But this is the first year we've went. Definitely never made it to Maine, and I stayed out 3 days shy of 6 months this year. Okay,
so share with us what made this year different. Both, I want to hear how the food was different. Right. How has that evolved? Because here's the other thing. I don't think we saw a lot of trail magic and a lot of food. Yours was the best. Well, in a lot of ways. Because the other thing that you had the first day at the hot dogs was you had those potatoes. And you sliced them right there, and you salt and peppered them right there. And we had fresh French fries. These were like on par with like In-N-Out Burger, which I heard you've never been to because you've never been.
No, I haven't.
You've never been to not even the West Coast. You've never been anywhere.
Yeah.
West of, not very far.
No. Right now might be Cincinnati. We're pretty far.
So this was actually good food. It was fresh cooked.
Right.
I thought it was good for even being back home.
Right.
And it's efficient. Like, you don't splurge. You splurge in funny areas, I think, for people. Like, a lot of times people just show up with candy bars. I remember talking to the omelet guy. And in the beginning, he said he showed up with soda pop and candy bars.
Yeah.
And people like it for a little bit, but then even he realized, I can do this better.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to hear how your food has evolved and how even this journey evolved this year.
Well, you got to understand too, we start in the cold because we start in February and it's cold. So the food changes too through the season because we started in the cold, we go through spring, and then we eventually hit the heat of summer at the end. So all of that changes the menu too. So early on you want to feed them soup or something hot. We definitely have coffee. Now we bought a nice French press this year. Well, I can press 2 cups at a time now.
And that's obviously where the name Fresh Ground came from.
Well, Fresh Ground came from my brother. He named me that because I love Fresh Ground coffee. And when he was taking me in 2012 to drop me off, I got him to stop at stores that had Fresh Ground beans. But I've continued with the tradition of this year I bought whole beans, and I have an electric grinder in the car, and I would grind the beans like at Walmart or wherever I bought them, and then that's what I've served. When you're out in the woods with me, I'm bringing you fresh ground coffee. It might be 2 or 3 days at the most old, a week at the very most. But so we always want something warm in the wintertime, something that will warm their bellies. Grilled cheese is always on the menu because we have vegetarians, vegans, no cheese. But we do French fries too. French fries work with vegans though. So I can, the reason why we do the home fries is because they're cheap. Yeah. So I can buy big bags of potatoes, 20-pound bag of potatoes. And I just take and chop the fries, right there. You don't peel them, you leave the peeling on. And early on I carry 2 burners. One of them is just for deep frying potatoes or boiling water in a big pot. So potatoes are always on the menu.
Those are so good.
But they're really cheap. Really good. And then grilled cheese are always on the menu. And then, early on, I tried to change it this year.
But you even do your grilled cheese fancy.
Yeah. Well,
this is not
we showed you.
Yeah, we have a whole video with that.
That's on the video if you want to see how that's made. So, yeah. But, you got to understand, a lot of this stuff is learned by trial and error. Or trying to do it fast, so you come up with a quick way, and it ends up being a great method. But this year I tried to switch up to a lot of beef. So we did do hot dogs a lot. We've done so many hot dogs in the past, I wanted to switch it up. This year I think we did cheeseburgers, we did chili.
And these cheeseburgers, these are like, what, 1/4 to 1/2 pound, solid, fresh?
Well, early on I did buy the frozen cheeseburgers, and that was when we had more numbers. But as we go farther north, I would buy fresh ground beef.
Yeah.
And make 1/2 pound burgers. Whatever I can make it's usually about a 1/2 pound burger, wouldn't you say? Maybe a little bigger, but
they were huge.
Huge, yeah.
Funny story with that. So this guy Ziploc.
Yeah.
The first time we met this guy, he was heading in the opposite direction of us. He was heading south on a section hike. And he goes, "Oh, I met a guy and he gave us hot dogs." And I go, "Was it fresh ground?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "Oh, okay." So we kept on going, and we ran into him again, and he was like, "I didn't know fresh ground was a person." He thought I was asking if the hot dogs were freshly ground. He was like, "What a weird question to ask."
So he thought, okay.
But he didn't know that was your name. But it was you that was doing the hot dogs.
Wow.
But I don't think he knew your name was Fresh Ground.
And, I think I'm trying to provide a service. Like I've told you before, I've built up 4 years of doing this, so I've kind of built a trust up. I'm just trying, I'm a hiker, so I know I've hiked fast and I've hiked slower. So I kind of know what hikers need. I'm not saying it arrogantly. I truly know what you need. Some people just need some conversation. Some need you to do a shakedown on the pack. Some need some good food. And I cook Southern style, which is a lot of butter, a lot of salt, and real greasy. So I'm trying to make sure you get the calories.
Yeah.
So that fits in really well.
Which I feel like that you being a hiker is a huge thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because we experienced a lot of trail magic, and while we were thankful for all of it, at least I think most all of it, there was some instances where there was people, a lot of times from churches, or they meant well, I think, but where they kind of come to us almost like a they feel sorry for us attitude, and they're treating us like homeless people who are broke, without a suffering, with no choice, and they're almost looking down on us. And it's like, here, you want some deodorant and toothbrush and a cheese sandwich, and I felt like you were not only looking at us like equals, but you were actually able to service people and give them what they really legitimately want in a way that was very unique.
Yeah, because I have people come and ask me, what should I do? And first of all, I think you need to be passionate about what you're doing. And you need to make sure that you're doing this for the right reasons. You don't need to be doing this for your own, glory. You need to make sure that, you're doing it for the hikers. Okay, it needs to come from your heart. It needs to be true. But also, don't do what you want to do. Do what they need to do. That's really the heart of doing good trail magic. Try to fit the need of the hikers. See, a lot of people like to do stuff that makes them feel good or give you stuff that they want to give you. I think the reason why I'm successful is because I go out when nobody else wants to be out. In February, it's cold.
So cold.
Nobody wants to be out. So, and we talked about it, so I need to explain this to them too. So originally, I come out and I start a week in one spot. And I stay in one spot for a week. And then I move 80, 100 miles. That same group kind of comes through. So we started getting to know each other.
And you said why you do that. That's very intentional. I think that's one of the things, the phrase I heard you say, and I want you to explain this. You said it, I'm building trust.
Yes, yeah. So
if you're giving away stuff, why do you need to build trust?
Well, initially, I'm paying for the first 1 or 2 setups out of my pocket. So I usually work through the winter, save my money, and I pay for the first 1 to 2 setups, depends on how much I start
How much
with.
does that cost?
Initially, early on, it's around $100 a day. So we'll set up 6 days, $500 to $600 for the first week or 2 weeks. Now, later on, we're able to drop the cost down when the numbers drop down a little bit, or sometimes weather affects numbers too. But
you're paying for gas to get out there.
Right. A lot of people think it's just food, but yeah, we have to.
Because I've heard you say something in the thousands. The first 2 weeks of cost.
Yeah, it's over
like
1,000. It's over 1,000. I'd say the first 2 weeks is definitely over 1,000. Maybe even up to 12 to 1,500.
Okay.
Depends on the numbers. If the weather's really good, you get more numbers. So you develop. First of all, you develop friendships with people, but you also develop confidence that when I tell you, hey, I'm going to be set up at Wine and Stair, and I feed you at Woody Gap, and you get to Wine and Stair and I'm there, and then I say, hey, guess what? I'm going to set up at Fontana Dam. I didn't do that this year, but I've done that in the past. And when you get close to Fontana Dam, I'm there, and I say, hey, next time I'm going to set up here. So you start trusting me, and then so after the first 2 setups, I turn the donations over to the hikers, or people that I know, or families of hikers, or just people that are interested in helping hikers. So, and that's usually how it works. It's word of mouth, and the Fresh Ground Leaf Rock Cafe Facebook page. Let people know what's going on.
Now, you don't keep a trail log. So
I used to.
So everyone on the trail, every place you go, whether it's a shuttle driver to the ice cream shop, especially trail angels, they all keep trail logs. They want you. The first thing they said, "Hey, sign my trail log."
Right.
You don't do it.
Well, I found the first 2 years I did it, but right now they're sitting at home, and it seems selfish. I'm there to serve you. I don't need that, and I'm trying to make it as economical as I can. So when you come in, I want to meet your need. I need to find out what your need. We used to have a sign up. For the first 3 years, I put signs up. Leapfrog Cafe, sign the sign, sign the sign, sign the log. But I realized that let's just focus on stuff that I would take home with me, and it's good. I got it in a room at home. It's good memories. But it was just taking time and energy. And also storing it in the car. I just want to be as economical as I can.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, my car, I know this year we had a little misunderstanding. We had a GoFundMe page started to buy me another car. A lot of people don't understand, hikers, we love being thrifty and we love being economical. Once you start hiking, you don't want a bigger pack. You want to get smaller, and you want to get lighter. And
so when I saw your car smashed tight, I think that's why people felt bad.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he needs an SUV or bus. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. This is his dream. He still sees 8 square inches, and he's trying to think of who else can I pick up?
I can tie packs on the top. Yeah, we love being economical. We do.
Yeah.
I mean, hikers do. I do too.
Well, I feel like this trail log thing. Just going back to that as one picture.
Yeah.
I've seen trail angels where I feel like they're out there collecting hiker stories.
Yeah.
And they're out there trying to feel good about saving people or helping them. I felt like you were on a different mission. I felt like you enjoyed helping people, and I know that you were motivated by what you call your engine,
right,
on an ongoing basis, and maybe you could talk about that for a second.
Right.
But I don't feel like there was something different about even where you go back to the beginning of your story and saying that you were doing this out of obedience to God.
Yeah, definitely a call on my life. We can't put that into words, but I can express it, but yeah,
So can you talk about what an engine was and how that played a role in things?
So what we found early on, just by trial and error, was that I needed to have something to set up on. So I would always pick a very consistent group or individual, and I would call them my engine. Now, early on we'd have a caboose too. So when the caboose would pass through, I'd pack it up and move. But we found that really wasn't economical because, you know, it's like an accordion that can stretch and weather can change things. So what we found was,
When you say we,
well, I'm always representing the people.
all right.
That. So
But you're making the decisions. You're the CEO.
I do.
Okay.
I'm the point man. I admit that.
Okay.
But I always try to include. I can't do this without the people that donate and support.
Okay.
So when we started this, in order to be consistent, we need an engine is somebody who's very, very consistent on their mileage, and I want somebody that's putting in pretty good mileage. Early on, I like them to do 12 to 15 miles a day, because I'm by myself. I can't feed masses, and I know a lot of people get upset when I move faster than they can keep up, but it's just me out there. I don't have a team with me, and I know I've been burnt out before doing this. So you have to find a balance to manage the amount of people. So that's why I developed an engine. The engine is the person who sets the pace for the rest of the people behind them. That's who I set up on, and then early on I set up for 6 days, and I take a day or two off. And I found that's necessary so you don't get burnt out.
Yeah.
And so the engine is the person. This year it actually started out being Powerhouse, and then eventually Conan. And Conan and Powerhouse were my engine for a long time. And then it got to a point where I dropped back. And then near the end it was Pee Wee for 3 weeks, I think. And then y'all were my engines going through the. So I try to pick a group or individuals that are very consistent, and then they're the ones that set the pace, and I set up in front of them, and whoever's in front of them or behind them benefits. So that's the purpose of an engine.
Okay, this is so good. Unfortunately, I have a thing I need to be at, so we have to wrap this up.
No, we covered everything.
But I want to just share from my perspective, one thing that was really cool about traveling alongside you was I felt like you were on a mission yourself. And I felt like, you know, for us and our family, we were trying to get to Katahdin on a deadline, you know, on our own thing. And I feel like it was like kind of the perfect marriage of like when you find someone that you can come alongside and you guys are on the same mission, then you look to your left and your right and you're almost like teammates for a while. And there is some trail magic, like I kind of alluded to before, where I felt like we're on our mission and they either come alongside and they either like idolize us or they pity us, you know, but they don't really, their mission, I didn't really understand and it wasn't very clear. But I felt like with you, there was kind of a synergy there where you were like doing your own thing and you knew what you were doing. You weren't like looking for us for purpose to hikers, you know, to find some meaning in your life.
Yeah. No hidden agenda. Yep.
Yeah.
Be honest with people. Be true to who you are. You know, just basic things, but yeah.
So to end off, are you going to be out there in 2019?
The goal is to be moving forward for this. I can't completely promise that, but I feel led to repeat.
Okay. And you have 4 years of history here. So Fresh Ground doesn't want to do this, but
7 years of hiking too.
Okay, but I want to give people an opportunity, because what's happened is like in our comment section, people are like, I want to help. Fresh Ground needs a new car, this and that. But because of the ATC regulations and you not being able to raise funds during,
right,
it's very beneficial if you can raise funds before.
4 week
right?
set fee.
Okay, so we're going to put a link to your PayPal account.
Okay.
And the guarantee is that this money is going to go to feed hikers.
That's right.
And this is what Fresh Ground told me before. If for some reason you don't end up doing it,
right,
we know people that can spend the money well, right, and the money will go there. But
we'll feed hikers. Somehow or another it will support hikers. Guarantee that.
Yeah. So this PayPal account is going to go directly to him. So for those of you who have really enjoyed what Fresh Ground is doing, some of you guys watching this, I'm assuming, have been fed by Fresh Ground. And some of you guys have heard of him. Some of you guys are looking for a way to get involved in the Appalachian Trail. And I think this is one of the better opportunities that I've seen for, like I said, if you want to spend $1 in a way that gets hikers some hot, fresh cut potatoes.
Yeah, let them know there's no overhead. I sleep in a hammock every night. I slept less than a week in 6 months inside.
We have this nice room for him up here, and he's sleeping in a hammock in my shed right now.
Yeah. I have a bad neck, so I really physically can't sleep inside. But I want to keep it. I don't ever want anybody to say you abused it. I want everybody to say you went way out of your way to do the right thing. So you know that. I hold true to my word.
Yeah.
I will keep the costs as low as I can. I cook as economically as I can, and we're always looking for better ways to improve it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey guys, thanks for sharing, and also I'm gonna put a link to your Facebook page.
Facebook.
Where that's where you're doing stuff, and you're gonna keep people posted on your adventure because you were gonna be biking across the country, but tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a hurricane hitting my hometown, close to it, so I'm gonna have to return by train to home to guard the house.
And tonight you're watching Black Panther with my kids, which is something that he promised the kids.
Came by
on the Appalachian Trail, and now it's actually happening.
Yes.
All right, we gotta go. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.